Hello everyone, welcome to another learning video with online biology tutorials. In this video, we will be studying differences between DNA and RNA. We are already done with the basics of DNA and RNA along with their functions, what are they performing, right? So now it's easy for us because we just need to compile up the data. This question is again important. It may come for a 2-marker question or for a 3-marker question. If 2-marker question will come, then you will write 4 valid points, and if a 3-marker question will come, then you will write 6 valid points along with the structure also. Okay, so let's get started. Now first of all, the first difference will be DNA stands for, right? And you know this. So this is deoxyribonucleic acid, right? RNA stands for ribonucleic acid. Make sure you practice in writing as well so that you can really recollect that how many points you are able to write. Okay, next point is about their sugar, because DNA and RNA both are the polynucleotidic structures. Okay, so both will be made up of the nucleotide, and each nucleotide you already know that it is composed of base, sugar and phosphate. So we are talking about the sugar in DNA, and it is deoxyribose, because of which only DNA has got its name deoxyribonucleic acid. So deoxy specifically it is because of the sugar, right? And the deoxyribose sugar at its C2 position, it has which group? H group. Yes. Okay, and if you talk about this one, RNA, the sugar in it is ribose, because of which RNA is known as ribonucleic acid. At its C2 position, what is there? Yes, it is OH group, or the hydroxyl group is there in them. Next difference is of course about the pyrimidines. So I'm not writing for the purines because that would be counted as similarity. Here we are studying differences. Make sure whatever you are going to write, it would be dissimilar from each other. So pyrimidines, if you talk about DNA, it is cytosine and it is thymine. So you can write in full, don't write in short in the examination. Okay, but if you are talking about pyrimidines, in the case of RNA, it is always cytosine and there is no thymine. It is uracil in place of it. Okay, let's come on to the next difference. DNA is stable, right? DNA is stable, whereas if you talk about RNA, then it is quite unstable. Now their stability factor is dependent upon the OH group or the absence of it. Okay, so DNA doesn't has that, that's why DNA is stable, where RNA possesses the hydroxyl group, that's why it is unstable. Let's come on to the next difference, and that is DNA can easily mutate. DNA can easily mutate on exposure to UV rays, right? Whereas if you talk about RNA, does not mutate easily on exposure to UV rays. Okay, I'm stretching the line because the space is getting filled. Let's come on to the another point, right? If you talk about gene expression, then you know that it helps in transcription, right? So DNA plays a major role in the transcription because it helps in propagating its information to the RNA. But if you talk about RNA, in terms of the gene expression, it helps in the process of translation. Okay. Now another difference, DNA is generally double helical. Okay. DNA is generally double helical. Whereas if you talk about RNA, it is generally single-stranded. So you can write it as single-stranded. Remember, because of this reason, we used to write smallest RNA. Whereas for DNA, we used to write double-stranded DNA. Let's come to the another point now, and this is DNA can self-replicate. We have already seen in the replication that new DNA always forms from the existing DNA, and that's self-replication. Whereas if you talk about RNA, cannot do self-replication, right? We have also studied for Chargaff's rule. So DNA does follow Chargaff's rule. Whereas if you talk about RNA does not follow Chargaff's rule. Now let's write the another point. If you are finding DNA in a cell, where will you find it? DNA is found in nucleus. It is also found in the mitochondria. But if we are talking about plant cell, it is also found in the chloroplast. Remember, mitochondria and chloroplast DNA, it is known as extranuclear DNA. So if in exam you get a question, what is extranuclear DNA and where is it found? So you will be writing extranuclear DNA is a one which is found other than the nucleus. Means DNA is generally confined to the nucleus, but if it is found in certain other part of the cell other than the nucleus, then it is known as extranuclear DNA. In animal cell, it is found in mitochondria, whereas in the plant cell, it is found both in mitochondria and the chloroplast. Okay, and you know, because of this, mitochondria and chloroplast, they are known as semi-autonomous cell organelles. Okay, this term is not a new one. You have read about it in grade 9. Semi-autonomous means because they have their own DNA, thus their own genetic expression is possible. They can make their own proteins, right? Now, if you are going to find RNA, then RNA is generally found in the cytoplasm of the cell, because this is the place where their responsibility is there, where they have to do their job. They will do the translation process here. That is why they are found there. Okay, they are generally found in the cytoplasm of the cell. Okay, make sure whenever you are ending up such differentiation, do definitely draw the quick structure of DNA, which will depict that DNA is double helical in nature. Do label the ends as well, because the examiner will see whether you know to mark the ends or not, because by this way it is clear that you know that DNA is antiparallel in nature. Whereas if you are drawing RNA, you can draw a simple structure starting from 5 prime ending to 3 prime. So this is your double helical DNA and this is your single stranded RNA. Okay, these many differences are enough for you. Whatever you are finding easy, you can quickly learn them. Minimum 6 differences are to be learned by you. I hope this was easy for you to understand. I hope everyone has subscribed to my channel yet, and if you have not, please do so immediately, because you will be ultimately benefited by my tutorials. Wish you a happy learning. See you in next video.